Last breaths are sacred. When I imagine my final days, I see bubbles. I see the ocean. I see music. Even now, as I seek help to end my life, there is still so much beauty. You just have to be brave enough to see it.
2 weeks ago, we showed you that ad. It's pro-euthanasia, produced by a Canadian fashion and home goods retailer. They reportedly staged excursions for this young woman before her death as a brand-building exercise. Well, since then, we learned from her friends that she actually wanted to live. But the glorification of death in Canada has gotten so pervasive that she gave in to the external pressures. You would think that would slow this push down in Canada, but to the contrary. Canada has said that they want to expand their push for assisted suicide. Starting in March, people whose sole underlying condition is mental illness will be able to access what they call assisted death. Joining us now is the editor-in-chief of Rebel News, Sheila Gunn-Reid. She was running a national campaign to force the government to end this practice. Sheila, I mean, we've been talking about mainstreaming depravity tonight on The Angle, and I've got to say, life is disposable in the world today, it seems, but this really does kind of take the cake.
It is true, Laura, that Canada's blowing right past Scandinavia in our quest to hit the bottom of the slippery slope faster than everybody else. You know, we've heard this mantra before. They told us this about abortion, that medical assistance in dying would be safe, rare, and only in the most dire of circumstances. But as with abortion, we know that's not true. Right now, we know at least 10,000 people per year in Canada are receiving medical assistance in dying. It's right up there with our COVID death numbers. But we can't really know for sure because there are some medical associations that are advising doctors to not record medical assistance in dying as the reason for the death, but rather record the reason they sought medical assistance in dying. This is really, though, just the next step in our descent into darkness, because we've also removed the 10-day wait time from when you ask for medical assistance in dying and when you receive it. So it can happen on the very same day. And this is especially challenging for people who are experiencing mental illness because those feelings can sort of ebb and flow. And somebody experiencing acute PTSD might ask for and receive medical assistance in dying.
Let me just jump in right here, because the mental health issue is it's almost like they prefer to get rid of these people. Like encouraging people with mental health to go through this assisted death, whatever they want to call it, to make themselves feel better. It's just sickening. I mean, where are all the mental health advocates for that? Where are they? I mean, I don't see them in the United States speaking out about this. But I want to get to another horrible case out of Canada, which is a Canadian pensioner seeking euthanasia because he fears homelessness has received approval from a doctor despite admitting poverty is a major factor in his decision to end his own life. Les Landry, 65, told assessors for the procedure he doesn't want to die, but has applied for it because he can't afford to live comfortably. Sheila, astonishingly, a doctor has given one of the two signatures required for this assisted death to go forward. So now homelessness, so get rid of the people with mental illness, then you're going to get rid of the homeless. The elderly will be pushed off their mortal coils. What else?
Diabetics with eating disorders, veterans with acute PTSD episodes, or veterans wanting wheelchair ramps for their homes. There are at least 4 Veterans Affairs caseworkers who have advised up to 9 that we know of veterans to take their own lives instead of continuing to annoy these Veterans Affairs caseworkers who are paid handsomely to help our veterans. There was even a 91-year-old lady in Vancouver who opted for medical homicide because she feared going back into yet another COVID lockdown in her nursing home. But frankly, Laura, what you're seeing here should be a dire warning to our American friends, because this is end-stage socialized medicine. This is pushed by people who think it helps the poor or the vulnerable, but the only equitable thing about this is equitable agony for the users of our system. The benchmark for treatment in Canada, if you need a knee surgery, if you finally get into the system, it's 180 plus days to get a knee surgery. That's the gold standard. And if you get it at 180 days, it's a miracle. But if you want medical assistance in dying for the pain caused by the lack of medical care, because the government runs the system here, you can get medical assistance in dying if you can get those 2 signatures on the very same day.
Well, Sheila, it's clear that they want to get people off the medical rolls. I mean, they have to, because the whole system looks like under a lot of stress. And I agree with you. Americans better pay attention. Sheila, thank you. And our tour around the world continues in the Netherlands now, where the Dutch government's push to eliminate huge swaths of farms in this country is now getting a huge boost from NBC News. Not only do they frame this as a move that's a worthwhile endeavor to curb global emissions, they conflate conservatives' concern over the global food supply with some sort of like culture war. Radicalized by the opposition to strict COVID measures and spurred on by conspiracy theories about globalists dismantling national democracies and importing non-white immigrants to majority white countries. Joining us now is Victor Davis Hanson, Senior Fellow at the Hoover Institution. Victor, you live in the Central Valley of California, kind of the breadbasket of the United States. But they want to shut down debate here and say it's just the right-wingers who are, I guess, trying to protect the farmers in the Netherlands. Like, what is this really about, Victor?
It's pretty pathetic. It's a pathetic use of government control by a small elite. You know, when they can't address the existential problem that China and India are contributing to 40% of greenhouse gas releases, or their elites are contributing to it with private jet travel, they go onto the misdemeanors and they pick on 17,000 Dutch farmers. I mean, my God. These people are the most efficient dairy farmers in the world. They've got a global reputation for land stewardship. We were told all during the 90s, Laura, that we got to go back to organic, natural farming, too much chemical nitrates, and the dairy became the nexus where everybody looks toward organic manures to be supplied by dairies. And then we were told, of course, we have to innovate. If you're on the farm, family farmers have to get with it. And if you look at a pound of meat or milk produced versus the unit of methane gas released, the Dutch are the most efficient farmers in the world. Everybody should be looking at Dutch farming, especially dairy farming, for a model of how to be sustainable and how to promote democracy by keeping farmers on the land generation after generation and offering stability and perseverance.
Victor, isn't this a national security issue as well?
It's suicidal. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, sorry, Victor. Isn't this also kind of
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's because if you don't control your own food supply, as a people, you are deeply vulnerable to exploitation and coercion from government authorities.
American and European farmers are the best in the world. They're the best stewards. They're the most efficient, and it would be absolutely insane to go after them. It's sort of the equivalent of the military going after rural kids that provide the best fighters in the world. I don't know why we do this, but we've got to stop it. These are our strengths. These are our assets, farmers in Europe and the United States, and they're sacrosanct, and to go after them is a crime.
Victor, thank you so much. Great to see you tonight. Elon joins Dave Chappelle on stage, and the media missed the point. And critics be damned, Hunter Biden back to selling his art. Raymond Arroyo has all the details. Seen and Unseen is next.